What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in to talk about some Destiny 2 news and round up a few updates. So, of course, admittedly we are in a little bit of a quiet patch for Destiny 2, but we are going to talk about some of the upcoming roadmap beats, the Empyrean Foundation, and Bungie do confirm how some of the rewards will work, as well as giving us advice on how to prepare for the event. So we'll talk about that and discuss what it means for Season 10 of the game. But then we also have quest updates, glitches and fixes, a pretty interesting glitch that re-enables Corridors of Time and its rewards, plus some additional things to round up in the video. So guys, as always, I hope you enjoy this one, and if you do, a rating below really helps me out. But now let's get into it. The first thing we're going to talk about today would be the Green with Envy quest. So issues with that quest continue after update 2.7.1. So Bungie say, to resolve issues with Green with Envy, the Tear It Up step will now auto-complete Infamy rank Heroic, and the Show Off step will auto-complete Infamy rank Mythic. And so both of those in the game should auto-complete. Obviously, Bungie are unable currently to fix the problem, and have decided to auto-complete so that players can get this done by the end of the season. On the subject of Gambit though, we are going to be seeing an Infamy boost next week in a game, so it's worth bearing that one in mind. And another pretty random shout here, but it turns out the Corridors of Time haven't quite gone away. And so currently in the game, we should point out that the lore book and the triumphs aren't visible in the collection. This is something that Bungie are looking into fixing, although they do say that we shouldn't lose any of the lore that we've already unlocked. But if you didn't collect all of the lore or the emblem and you still want to do it, it is still technically possible to return to Corridors of Time. So this was pointed out just now by Froggy on Reddit. And you do need to have Corridors of Time Part 1 or 2 missions still available on a character. Unfortunately, I don't, but when you return to the Sundial, boot up Corridors of Time Part 1 or 2, as soon as you spawn into the first room, where the Sundial actually spins up and everything turns grey, if you immediately open the map and launch Sundial Spire again, which it lets you do for some reason, it will actually spawn you back into the full Corridors of Time maze. You'll still get the relevant mission dialogue for the Corridors of Time part that you're on, but you can input the codes to drop the lore books as well as the emblems. So if you do want to head back in for whatever reason, it technically can still be done, and that's a pretty awesome find from Froggy right there. So I'll link their video down below if you need any guidance on it. Just kind of interesting that you can still do it as well. Now though, let's move on and talk about some of the stuff for the Empyrean Foundation and the content drop that's going to happen next week on February 4th. So it does look like, as part of Season of Dawn, players will kick off the Empyrean Foundation by doing one last major upgrade for the Tower Obelisk. So there's a quest called Heart of the Sundial, and this looks like it's going to drop a core that we need to infuse into the Tower Obelisk. So firstly, we have to kill the new Scion Flayer boss, that's Inotam, Oblivion's Triune. They're going to drop the Sundial core, but then that needs to be charged up with 30 Orbs of Light. So basically we go around, collect those for the quest, and then finally go ahead and insert the core into the Tower Obelisk to charge it up and activate that next phase. So considering the interaction between the Tower Obelisk and the Empyrean Foundation, where we're actually going to make donations and things like that, this looks like it's going to be the first task that we have. Of course, we spoke about Empyrean Foundation a little bit from this week at Bungie on Thursday, but they have given us some additional tips. So they said, we recommend upgrading your obelisks as much as possible before next week. Your Tower Obelisk will generate polarized fractaline passively for you each week, equivalent to its resonance power. And we know that we need to donate large amounts of fractaline as a community to the Foundation in order to hit several different thresholds, but one of the main ways of actually doing this is going to be by auto-generating fractaline, which Piragarath on Reddit pointed out. So, as Bungie said, the Tower Obelisk will generate polarized fractaline for us, equivalent to its resonance power. And of course, it gets that power from the other obelisk upgrades that we do on different locations. And so essentially, if you invest 8,000 fractaline into the current obelisks on different locations, by week 1 of the event, the Tower Obelisk is going to auto-generate 4,000 of that fractaline back for you. Then of course, by the second week, you'll basically break even on the investment, but then there'll be another 3 weeks of the event, which is where you get into those profit margins of fractaline that you can actually kind of donate en masse, right? And so basically the best thing that you can do for the community effort right now is to invest absolutely everything you have into the current planetary obelisks. However, of course, we do know that the individual reward for donating 5,000 fractaline is going to be the Triumph, the Emblem, and a new shader, the Lighthouse Sun, which looks a little bit like this. Or at least this is the thumbnail for it, but if you want those rewards immediately, you could also hold on to 5,000 fractaline to donate straight away. But then any spare that you have above that, so if you had 30,000 or something crazy, you can invest 25 of it into the planetary obelisks and then keep 5,000 for that instant reward on day 1, right? There are a few different ways to approach this depending on how you want to contribute to the event. And of course, if you currently don't have 5,000 fractaline, it's pretty likely that by playing throughout the event and by auto-generating based on the current levels of the obelisks you've upgraded, that by later on in February, you'd probably auto-generate your way to that 5,000 anyway. But of course, the reward is a point of conversation for the community, and firstly, DMG did say that players should think of the Empyrean Foundation effort as an evolution of the Mars Community Challenge. It's available to all players, including New Light. You get an emblem for participating, a shader when the challenge is completed, and the community progress is represented in-game in the tower. He did also confirm that the ultimate or maximum reward for the event is indeed the shader, as Bungie pointed out in TWAB, so let me know what you think about that. I would absolutely love for Bungie to have a better reward in there as well, but we're gonna have to wait and see. I'd say the only part of this entire process which is really mysterious at this point would be the precise link that it has to Season 10. So, of course, according to Datamined content, Jinsa posted that starting on March 9th will be Season of the Worthy. And of course, alongside that season is going to be Trials of Osiris according to those data mines. This is very, very likely to be true because it was substantiated by a quest mission in the game called Worthy. It's only been visible in the game via a glitch, but it does tell us that we'll be helping to rebuild the lighthouse, but also that the donation requirement of 5,000 fractaline actually stands before access to this quest mission. So I guess this is the secret part where things could get interesting. It could include combat, maybe we'll actually have to fight stuff, but outside of gameplay, it seems pretty likely to be a narrative-focused thing, possibly being the beginning story thread for Season 10. We don't know that it'll absolutely be available on day 1 if you do turn in 5,000 fractaline immediately, but of course, discovering the purpose of the mission is one of the main reasons to actually hold on to that 5k, so bear that in mind. But another point of conversation while we're talking about the potential of content for Season 10, people are discussing the fact that the leaked text does say Trials and More returns in Season of the Worthy. And so does that mean that we're going to see more returning content? It's definitely an interesting question, and I would say that based on how it's worded, it certainly seems most possible. So could we potentially see a Reprise escalation protocol, given the potential for a Rasputin linked drop? Or could we be talking about D1 stuff, maybe like a Prison of Elders or something like that, for example? Of course, those are pretty random examples and it's pure speculation, but it's a really interesting discussion. And so let us know your thoughts down below. What do you think about the potential of Trials coming back? Do you think that PvP is ready for that? Also, what do you think the other piece of content for the season could be? Because hopefully it won't be a season entirely focused on Trials. I think Trials needs to be delivered the right way into the game, but also the rest of the game in the ecosystem needs to get the content beats that it needs as well. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Now though, let's round up a few additional bits of news. So on the subject of the visual representation for our progress in the Empyrean Foundation, DMG said, it's not going to be a one-for-one progress bar showing exactly where we're at, but we will see how far we've come in the event, and Bungie are also looking to have some live updates to share throughout when we hit those bigger goals. And considering the massive numbers that we're going to have to hit, it'll certainly be interesting to see if and when those goals are met. But separately in the Sandbox, after the update we had earlier this week, players have reported that Mortar Blast, or the Sunspot melee for Titans, still isn't working correctly in the game, so Cosmo confirmed that the team were looking into that, and then DMG has said that they have a bug filed that needs to be investigated, as the glitch is still occurring frequently, and unfortunately, despite the lack of damage that Titans would already see with that melee ability before the patch, in many instances it's actually got worse, so if that's an issue you are experiencing, hopefully it's one that Bungie will finally get fixed soon. And yes, there are a lot of bugs and issues in the game right now for sure. That's something else I'd be curious to get a sense of how you guys are feeling about, right? Especially with content like Trials coming up. Some of the bugginess, the glitches, exploits, and general cheesiness, I can understand why some players are concerned about that, and how that's going to play out with very competitive content. On the subject of that though, Bungie said that the security team has issued a fresh batch of punishments for players using illicit software to modify their gameplay, so basically they are swinging the ban hammer once again on players cheating in the game. Another very prominent issue over the past few months, especially really since the move to Steam and then free to play and things like that, it has increased the numbers of players who are attempting to use tools like this. And so obviously Bungie are focusing on it a little bit. Certainly looks like Bungie are going to be ramping up the responses on that front. Random tweet right here, but once again, Phil Spencer showed Destiny 2 running on Project xCloud. Also with the Razer Kishi, but it's pretty crazy that this game streaming stuff is really taking off as quickly as it is. And it's interesting that they're using Destiny quite a bit early on in these live streaming tests. Probably because it's a pretty good game in terms of networking and things like that to actually run test and try and improve that service. So really curious stuff. And the final thing I would mention in this video, guys, is of course a lot of conversation recently about Bungie looking for new staff to work on their new IP. I did make a separate video about Bungie's upcoming game, so if you want to check that out, I'll link it down below. But listings for art directors suggested that the team would be working on something potentially comedic with a light-hearted and whimsical approach to characters. And that's definitely fairly different from Destiny. Of course, with the exception of a few specific characters potentially, but they're also looking for folks to design economy for the new game, developing online worlds, and combat designers working on first and third person animations. So very curious to see what the new project's going to be about, and also what that means for Destiny, over the next couple of years. Once again, it's stuff that I would love to hear your thoughts about, but for this video, guys, of course, it's a bit of a roundup of stuff that's been going on throughout the week, and hopefully that news conversation and that future of Destiny conversation will start to ramp up a little bit again as we approach Season 10. But we are riding it out, my friends, I know. I'll do my best to keep you posted. I'm also going to try and get that house update out to you guys very soon, especially in this downtime. We are really trying to crunch through everything before things start to get busy with work and stuff like that, so that's another thing I'll keep you posted on very shortly. But guys, thank you so much for watching as always. If you've enjoyed the video, a rating below is very much appreciated, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to get subscribed so I can keep you posted on the world of Destiny 2. But otherwise, whatever you get up to, I hope you guys have an awesome day.